Mashimaro, a cute Japanese cartoon character, something you probably would not associate with a murder. But what if I tell you this cute cartoon character has something to do with the murder case of two women, which is still unsolved to this day? On 7th June 2005, a cleaner was clearing garbage in neighborhood in Yongchon district of South Korea when he came across a huge sack next to a garbage bin. Upon closer inspection, he saw a pale hand sticking out of the sack. The cleaner assumed that the hand belonged to a mannequin and tried to pick the sack up, but it was too heavy. Feeling that something was amiss, he touched the mannequin and realized that it was instead a human body. In an interview, Park Song-yeol, a homicide detective, revealed that the body was found with a black plastic bag tied over the head. There were bite marks on the woman's chest, two menstrual pads, and several tissues were found inside her body. It seemed like the victim was sexually assaulted, but no semen or DNA were found. The victim, whose body was found, was later identified as 20-year-old Miss Kwon. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation. 6 months later, on 11th November 2005, the police received a call about another body. This time, the body was of a much older woman, Mrs. Lee. Similar to the previous victim, Mrs. Lee had a black plastic bag tied around her head, and cause of death was also asphyxiation. In an interview, law professor Yo Song-ho stated that there were many similarities between these two cases. The women were injured in the same places, and the cause of death was also the same. Criminal psychologist Pyo Chong-won said that the method used to conceal the bodies was similar, and it wasn't something that could be easily done. In both cases, victims were assaulted and beaten around the same areas on their bodies. Also, the bodies of both victims were found wrapped in a rope, knotted in the same style. So obviously, it cannot be a mere coincidence with these much similarities. Both cases somehow are related to each other. The type of knot used to tie materials concealing the bodies could be a clue to murderer's identity. The knot seemed to be tied by someone who knew how to tie knot professionally, so the culprit could have been working in a job that involved packing boxes or other packages. Strangely, one end of the knot was cut short, making it easier to untie. Park Jae-sun, a social psychology professor, said that this could be habit caused by culprit's profession. Another similarity between these two cases was victim's last location, Shinjong Station. Both crimes also took place on Saturday. On 31st May 2006, 6 months after the second murder, the murderer struck again at Shinjong district, but this time the murder's plan failed. That day, the victim was kidnapped and brought to a dark semi-basement. While her kidnapper went to the washroom, she made a dash for the door, which happened to be unlocked. She ran to the second floor of the building and hid behind a shoe rack. There, she noticed a Mashimaro sticker on the shoe rack as well as a flower pot on the top of it. The flower pot seemed to be made by a child. Based on the victim's account, investigators realized that they should be looking for a murderer with an accomplice. The victim mentioned that she heard and saw two men, which means the murderer is not alone and he definitely have someone's support. After hiding for a few hours, she ran away from the building and hid in an elementary school. In her panic, she did not remember where her kidnapper's building was, and neither could she remember the path she took that day. However, she did remember seeing many ropes in the basement where she was held captive. This seemed to prove that the murderer was involved in a packing business and indeed was working for a packing job. When an investigation documentary shown in Korea published the evidence and called for witness in 2015, a woman called in to say that she lived in the building and owned the shoe rack with the same Mashimaro sticker. She said that she can remember this clearly because her first child was 3 years old at the time and they lived in the house similar to what was shown in the documentary. And it was her first child who made the flower pot, which she placed on the top of the shoe rack with that Mashimaro sticker on it. She also recalled that there was a man living in the basement in the same house in which she was living. He was in his mid-30s, however, he moved out of that house before October 2006. She said that this man sometimes could be seen alone, while other times she saw him with another man. This woman said that she could remember this clearly because she had her second child in October 2006. Even with this much of information, police is still not able to suspect anyone. This case is still unsolved and no other leads have been found till yet. So what are your thoughts about this case? Let me know in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in another video. Till then. So what